Hello everybody, Andrew Casey at Hypersanity Books. Today I'll be taking a look at Mr. T and being a creative consultant. This is also relevant to publishing. We are going to take a look at his personality, different things that he's done over the career. With Mr. T, there are some interesting writing tips ahead. Otherwise, let's get into it. Number 10. Rough Start.
The name is Mr. T. First name is Mr. Middle name is that period. Last name is T. Listen and listen good. I'm talking to you.
Mr. T's childhood was with his 11 siblings, so he was a family of 12 children, born in a 3-bedroom house in Chicago. Within the community, there was a lot of stigma against the black community. There was a lot of different gang violence, but he wanted to change things from the rough start to being a different role model to help within the community. One thing that he did point out was it's being called boy as a child, but it was also adults and grandparents being called boy.
When a new kid moves in on your block, what's your attitude? Do you figure, what do we need him for? Well, I pity the fool that makes that mistake.
Number 9. Rocky 3.
No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool, and I will destroy any man who tries to take what I got.
He made his acting debut in the Rocky 3 movie. This was a big milestone within the boxing community. It was also early in the 80s, in 82, where different action heroes were becoming famous. There was a different part of creating characters around yourself, and that's one thing I started to learn. People who were into different things like Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you're good at something, create a business around what you're doing. And this was his big break, was Rocky 3. Number 8. The ATeam and Wrestling.
I've been put in charge of arts and crafts. I make time.
With Mr. T, he had an interesting career doing wrestling, but before that he did play some football. He also was offered different jobs as a bodyguard, even later on a hitman. Mr. T had an interesting career. With the A-Team, that was also another part that led to a big break for him.
Telling them how stupid they were for trying to make an A-Team movie without Mr. T.
That's right.
We had to pity them fools,
That's
you know.
what we did.
Thank you, Al.
Number 7. Creative Consultant. So for those who do follow this channel, yes, I do write books. I also publish books. I have got into some other interesting career paths doing this. Also, with this channel, yes, I do case study videos, I review different books. However, as far as a career path goes, think about this. Mr. T is a creative consultant, so he is overseeing different projects that were book related to creating a book series. There was also another author that took on creating a comic book series. I quite enjoyed it. There was also, I was looking at the websites and I'm not too keen on fan fiction, though I liked Mr. T and some of the fan fiction was interesting how people created different works of art around this character. My point being, a creative consultant might be a career option that you might even consider looking at when you are building up a publishing business or writing other books. You might oversee different projects and give a little bit of an insight, which will bring me to a point later on. Number 6. Cartoons.
Let's go, machine. I got a plane to catch.
Mr. T had his own cartoon series. Being a creative consultant, he looked over those projects. There was also some other jobs that were created because of a lot of the work that he did. With his cartoon series, there was a lot of things that helped the local community, and he gave back to Chicago and helped in a lot of its other communities where they used to struggle. Number 5. Standing your ground with interviews.
The T, they have such a response to him
Yeah.
that they rush the limousine and they grab the door and they open it, and Mr. T was in the limousine getting oral sex from a hot chick.
Oh,
the kids caught him.
Howard, that's false.
It is false?
Come on,
Someone
Howard.
told me that.
Come on, Howard.
I mean, I'd be proud of that.
No. That was a lie.
Really?
And I wish I see that guy. I'll slap the out.
Really?
There are interviews that he has done where he has had to stand his ground. I don't blame him for this sort of thing. You need to set boundaries in life, and when there are people who will overstep those boundaries, you don't need to show them the same level of respect. And you look at the way he shuts it down.
You should apologize to me. You know me better than that.
You pissing me?
No, I'm not pissed at you, Howard. I forgive you,
I don't think
okay?
that's such a bad story.
No, it's a bad story, Howard.
It wasn't like you were doing
Howard, it's a bad story.
Really?
He
Let
doesn't
it go.
like the story.
Let it go.
You telling me you
Let
don't
it
have
go,
sex with
Howard.
women?
Howard, let it go.
No.
Number 4. World's Craziest Fools.
He's found the world's craziest fools.
I loved watching this show, especially with my son in early years when it came out. It was sort of like your Home Funniest video shows or American Home Funniest video shows. It was a lot better because Mr. T was narrating it. There are different shots that he took in life creating shows. There was one pitch that he had to create a show, I Pity the Tool, a hardware episode about renovations. There was an interesting concept, but it never took off on the ground. Otherwise, he used the characterization of what he has created to carry on for years to come.
Okay, listen up. It's that time of the show when we look at some of those people breaking the law, and I get angry. I hate criminals. I'm going to take a deep breath. You watch these clips.
Number 3. Personalized cancer.
Coincidentally, Mr. T was diagnosed with T-cell lymphoma.
It was a month of radiation, and the doctor told me, he said, the cancer might come back or it might not. You can't worry about that. You got to go on and live your life.
I found this to be an interesting fact, and yes, looking up some more information about it, personalized cancer is not stopping Mr. T.
Quote, can you imagine that? Cancer with my name on it? Personalized cancer.
There are lots of challenges that we face in life, and this was one that I found was quite coincidence. The type of T cancer cells that he had connected with his name. He took a lot of different challenges in life and turned them around. I also found with Mr. T, watching other different interviews with him and knowing the character and the person over time, he is an interesting role model to learn from. Number 2, traditional publishing, self-publishing, or hybrid publishing. From the earlier point, being a creative consultant, and one thing I think I will be looking at doing with creative consulting and being a hybrid publisher, you have something as an example, Hypersanity books. Invest into the author to connect with a different publishing house or self-publishing house instead of going the traditional route. And when you have a different agreement set up, it's similar to how traditional publishing works, and it also has the benefits of self-publishing, which allows different authors to have more creative control. I've had someone pitch an idea to me that I personally know, and as we're building Hypersanity books, this might be a career option that we look at. So there is a bit of a possible project in the works to create another YouTube channel around children's books. With this book series, I would personally be a creative consultant, just like Mr. T. Mr. T has inspired me over many years. Mr. T, love advice.
But this says to talk about politics, it says talk about Trump.
No, you just talk about everything. Get everything out the way. You don't want to find out and say, wow, honey, I didn't know that about you. You know this because you don't talk about those things.
Right.
So you need to talk.
Is it too early to talk about how many kids you want to have? Because I know people that have done
that. No, you talk about all that stuff, because people don't talk. When they don't talk, they get mad and they grow apart.
When I was writing Dark Sparrow, there was a concept that I put into the book. The first part of what the chapter 2 talks about not talking about politics, religion, and other subjects, keeping things private. Another half of the chapter says talk about it, especially when starting a relationship. There is a list of subjects that I'll pull up on the screen. This is all in bullet points within the book. So from this interview, with these couple points, the full interview will be at the end screen. I took a concept when I was doing my training into being an assistant in nursing, and it touched on the subject matter about so many people in a group researching politics, religion, and different points of view. And from this concept, I took that and turned it from a social experiment, which is mentioned in the book, to talking about difficult subjects. And there are a lot of subject matters that we should talk about. And regardless of whether things are right or wrong, or whether we come to different agreements on things, that's something where some relationships do not stand the test of time, because a lot of people do not communicate. From this concept, I took this to make a point within my book, and with other challenges ahead, to also prove a point about having a good, healthy relationship. Now, all being said, there are some relationships that are not healthy and are not good. And like Mr. T, you gotta pity the fool when you need to set those boundaries. Otherwise, that's it for today. Hit like, subscribe, comment. I'll be doing some more videos on different characters. But think about this. Publishing consultant may be a career path that you will be considering, but maybe that is another story that shall be told another time.